Hello everyone. Today we have a very good friend of mine, Mr. Abhishek Chhabra. कैसे हैं आप जनाब?
बहुत बढ़िया. Very
All
well.
good, perfect. We are very happy to see you after a very long time, and thank you very much for coming to Aluko panel.
You are most welcome.
Abhishek, a lot of people would like to know who is Abhishek.
Sure. This is a good starting point. My name is Abhishek Chhabra. You very beautifully welcome me. Thank you. I am from the north part of India. I'm from a city which is a relatively young city. It is a planned city in India. A lot of cities in India are very old. This is a young city which is designed by a French architect by the name Le Corbusier, very famous in the world. Mm-hmm. And the city was made in the 50s. Okay. And the city is called Chandigarh, which is the capital,
very popular, yeah.
Which is very popular. Yeah. It is the capital Correct. Of Punjab and Haryana. And so I am a Punjabi, a North Indian Punjabi.
Really?
There is a lot of stories around it.
Yeah.
I am an engineer and I'm a postgraduate diploma in finance. So I have an engineer in finance as a background. So how and why, how things work.
Right.
And the money drives the world.
Correct.
Kind of tick both the boxes.
Yes.
And so what keeps me going is kind of the ability that I have evolved of myself, the ability to energize. So what keeps me going is my ability to think of, to imagine of growth and progress, and to be able to energize this for various people as well as businesses. And this is something that keeps me going. Yeah. It excites me every day, and it functions across, life and work. Yeah,
right.
That's a very quick, brief me. Yes.
And where have you been for a couple of years, if I may ask?
I have spent more than 2 decades in helping thousands of businesses grow and progress. Mm-hmm. It started with working for my employers in the beginning, where I supported, as I said, growth and progress. So I started working in the semiconductor industry long ago. And later I worked for a large equipment manufacturer. Okay. And about 17, 18 years ago, I got into the conformity industry or the assurance industry.
18 years ago?
18, just about 18 years ago is when
Immense experience, I believe.
When I got into, and this was a very interesting phase, because this was a phase where I enabled businesses, business owners across several industries, whether it was the electrical industry, the automation industry, switchgear industry, HVAC, renewables, pharma, textile, you name the industry where this growth is something and progress is something which I enabled by virtue of something called standards and standardization or assurance. And this is the industry that I have enjoyed working in because of the scope and the spread of this industry. So in the initial years, while supporting and enabling and energizing growth and progress of businesses across these sectors, I then rolled on to growing these companies, which are the companies that enable growth. Okay. So conformity and assurance is quite a big industry. So I work for a few of these businesses who help by virtue of conformity, by virtue of assurance, And now I enable these companies to grow, which is the companies that are the backbone of growth and assurance. And I am also now offering some training programs for professionals who work in the assurance or the testing, inspection, certification industry.
Perfect.
To better understand this industry. So this has been about 2.5 decades of my last few years.
Great. I believe the listeners will benefit a lot. Tell us something about TIC.guru. I know that you explained me earlier what GRU is all about. TIC, testing, inspection and certification. So why the TIC.guru, has come in this part of the world, and what is the objective?
Well, I'll give you a bit of a background of what this is about. So, as I mentioned, assurance, which comes from testing, inspection, certification, or TIC.
Okay.
So, assurance is a big industry.
Correct.
And assurance is one of the oldest known trades in the world.
Correct.
You may wonder, anything that is bought or sold,
correct,
has a perceived value, has a perceived performance.
Yes.
So someone selling something saying, hey, this is what it does, or this is how long it will last.
Correct.
Or this is what it will do 5 years later. So you always need some sort of assurance, because the seller will always say my product will do this. But
Correct.
the buyer, once the buyer pays the money, the seller could actually even disappear. Right. So this has been as long as things have been traded, things have been bought or sold, that there is a need of an assurer or an assurance, often called as the third party. Okay. Because between the buyer and the seller, there is a third party who is who is the assurer. And this industry got a lot of prominence after 1995. So in 1995, a body called the World Trade Organization, they signed a treaty, and the World Trade Organization, WTO,
correct,
was formed. Taking further something which was signed in, I think, in 1948 among a few companies, which was at that time it was an agreement signed between some countries, which was called the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. It was called the GATT Accord in 1948. Okay. Now, under the WTO, which is the World Trade Organization, you have, I think, 160 or 164 countries which are signatory to the World Trade Organization. So what this means is that people and businesses from 164 countries have signed an agreement to follow certain common norms and processes, which are then rolled off through standards or standardization, which means there is some level of standardization. Right. And this standardization is what enables assurance.
Correct.
Because there is some standard for everything. Right. So it was, after 1995, the ISO, which is the International Organization for Standardization, which was an international standards body, as against standards bodies from different countries like the British Standards Institute and American Standards, and various countries had their country standards.
Correct, yes.
And then the International Organization for Standardization, came to be, and it got a lot of push after the WTO Accord was signed, and then more and more countries joined. And as I said, now there are over 160 countries.
Wow.
A couple of years ago, I did not know there were 160 countries in the world.
Very nice.
So this is the industry which is behind assurance of products, processes, people's behavior, etc. So whether you want to assure anything which is of importance, we talk about quality, we talk about safety. So assuming that you want to assure fire safety, in buildings. This is where the TIC.guru or everywhere, which is the testing, inspection, certification part of the assurance comes into play.
Correct.
So if you want to assure fire safety, then there are lots of things around it, and there is standardization around it. So hence it's a massive world, you know. It's a massive world. Yeah, we can really go on around it.
Yeah, if we can talk about UAE in particular. So, as per our understanding, that UAE right now is the only country who is having. I'm talking in particular to fire safety, having a testing standards in place. Certification, third-party body is also mandatory here. Inspection is again another thing. So I think the TIC mark is done by UAE for this particular concept, right?
Well, it's a large world. It's a large universe, to be honest. And I think you've picked a very interesting part that, you know, in the UAE has been among the firsts in what I can call rolling out a very stringent means of assurance. So if you don't mind, let me give you a kind of a bigger background about this, because when you have to bring about assurance in the construction industry, which is what we talked about in UAE, there are lots of stakeholders and there are lots of constructs. So let me begin by explaining that accidents happen. We all know accidents happen. And what has happened is that professionals, people who work for businesses, people who work for education institutes, people who learn and study things, they have been doing this and they continue to do this, which is that they study why something wrong happened. And as a part of this study and analysis, they pour out all of these learnings and create certain guidelines, saying, let's have a guideline so that these accidents do not happen.
Right.
So what started as creating these basic guidelines over the decades, and with more and more people iterating such documents, these documents evolved to be what today are known as building codes.
Correct. Yes.
So what these building codes are, these are a repository of knowledge of studying what has happened, which we don't want happening again. Study of, so if we talk about buildings, in buildings in general, the building codes encompass knowledge of all accidents that have been investigated, studied to understand why they happen. They encompass building materials, what different building materials are, how they behave, how they function, how they perform, as well as construction methodologies. If something is to be built, how is it built?
Correct.
What is structural strength? There is a long list of things. So these documents then embody and guide on how to design, what to build with. So whatever we are building with, how those things need to perform. And when we are talking of what to build with, we are also talking of how to build.
Correct, yes.
And how to maintain.
Okay.
So within the construction space, you have these, let's say 4 or 5 aspects, saying how to design, what to design with, what are those materials, and then how to do it, how to build, and how to maintain. Each of this is a promise by someone to someone.
Correct, yes.
So an architect or a consulting company says, I designed a building or a bridge or anything, it will function. This is what it will do. It is a promise. Then there is a promise of a material seller who says, I promise that my cladding material is going to last for 20 years, is not going to delaminate, is not going to catch fire, is
not going to fade the color.
Lots of promises exist in a product.
Correct, yes.
Which all these promises are on function and performance.
True.
Then there are material installers. So there is a promise saying, I'll do it right. I'll do it as per the drawing, as per the guideline, in the correct way. I'll not. I'll use the right screws. I'll use the right sealants.
Right.
I'll not ill do it. And then, of course, the facility management companies who come in who say that, well, we are here. We cannot undo the original planning and designing, so they need to be aware.
Yes.
All these promises need assurance. So let's say we start with designers. So there is something called competency of designers.
Correct, yes.
So the TIC.guru, which we were talking about, there exists a construct where personnel can be certified, saying you have these trainings, you have this knowledge, and then this knowledge has been certified that yes, you are capable of designing structural strength, fire safety, etc. So you have a personnel certification, which becomes an enabler to say, okay, let me hire this company. They have 15 certified people who know this, who know the building codes, who know materials, and so on and so forth. So this promise is then assured by a third party. I can design.
Yeah.
You have a material seller who has a promise. That promise is assured by test reports,
Correct.
by certifications, by auditors who are going to the factories and saying, yes, we assure when you pick up this product which has my name, the assurer's name,
Yeah.
I am assuring this will perform till 20 years or so on and so forth.
Correct, yes.
Then again, you come to building.
Right.
Who are the installers?
Right.
These are the installers
Yeah, yeah.
who have a personnel certification.
Okay.
They have installed 5,000 such installations.
Right.
They have been tested. They have sat exams. They have set practical exams, for example, to assure their skills.
Right.
These skills could be coating, could be civil work, could be plumbing work, could be fire stopping,
Correct, yes.
installing of cladding, installing of fire doors, so on and so forth.
Right.
So the personnel, their ability is assured by a third party.
Correct, yes.
So you see the assurance industry, whether it's design, manufacturing, workmanship, they all have a part of the assurance built into it.
Correct, yes.
And all of this has a standard way of doing it, standard way of making a product,
Correct, yes.
standard way of testing a product, standard way of certifying a product, standard way of certifying personnel. So hence the concept of standardization is huge. So what you mentioned about one of my initiatives, which is, experts in assurance, which
Amazing
is TIC.guru.
initiative, basically. I believe the industry will love it.
Sure, thank you very much. I think it's a big ocean,
Yes.
and it requires someone to bring it out.
Exactly.
And I enjoy.
Yeah, I know that. When you talk about testing, inspection, certification,
Absolutely.
you are flying, basically.
Absolutely, I love it.
Yeah.
If you take me in that direction.
Testing is itself is a big ocean, and when we talk about, because we mentioned UAE, UAE has all three boxes ticked, TIC. Yeah. So we have fire code which says, okay, testing is required, certification is required, inspection is required. But countries who are still depending on the test report only, do you think that they will also follow the certification?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is a route which a lot of countries are already thinking about. A lot of countries have to go about it. And the interesting thing is, and a lot of people probably in the construction industry don't have exposure, don't always see these things, that the assurance and testing certification is something which is very, very evolved
Right.
in many other industries. So as an example, if you buy a cell phone, any electronic product, and if you look at the charger of a laptop, just about everybody has a laptop or a phone charger.
Correct.
You will see a lot of marks and numbers and traceability. A typical electronic charger has 15 at least certifications,
Wow.
because various countries mandate certification, without which you cannot put the product in the market. These are electrical safety, radio frequency related conformity requirements, and the same goes everywhere. If you go to a supermarket and you buy milk, you buy yogurt, you buy any of several consumable FMCG, snacking products, you will see a lot of them carry conformity marks. So in this region, a lot of manufacturing of food is from Saudi Arabia.
Right.
So SASO, which is the standards body in Saudi Arabia, they have a conformity program called, they have a GEAM mark.
Okay.
They are a big G.
Yeah, I see.
And it is the SASO's certification mark. So if you buy, I think Al Rawabi, I don't remember, but if you buy yogurt, you will see a certification mark.
Correct, yes.
You buy water, you'll see a certification mark. So anything which is considered as a potential threat to life or health is regulated by governments.
Okay.
So now the last decade or 2 decades, slowly countries around the world who have been witnessing large accidents, incidents related to fire safety have been contemplating on making certification mandatory into building products also. And fire safety is something that is of very high importance. So while UAE has taken a very bold step, a lot of countries are following them. A lot of countries are doing similar steps, whether it is Australia or United Kingdom, some of the more evolved countries where in the United States there are already certification is a mandatory requirement in many aspects of fire safety in construction. So I am absolutely certain this is the way to go. And to pick up something from what I was mentioning, we talked about building codes in the beginning. We talked about the fact that how did the building codes come? The building code came from professionals who put in their minds together. These professionals are people like you, people like me, people who are experts in what they do for the construction industry.
Correct.
Manufacturers, designers, contractors, and they are the ones who pool in their knowledge to write standards, to revise standards, to revise building codes, and this is what will drive things ahead.
Correct. Yes.
All over the world.
Right. In your knowledge, is there any country who is like UAE where certification is mandatory for facade material, or UAE is the only country in the world?
No, there are lots of countries. We have compliance requirements
I'm talking in particular with cladding material.
So let's say if we talk about facade material, I must admit in my knowledge, the closest country that it comes to the extent of conformity assessment is probably United States, which calls in for materials to be tested at material level for reaction to fire tests, cladding material, as well as assemblies to be tested. But I must also admit in the same breath that the method and the extent of conformity assessment that is called in UAE is probably the most stringent at this time, and lots of countries in the world are following this, have been absorbing how this is done, and I think something similar is going to be rolled out in many countries in the years to come.
I would like you to explain a little bit testing versus certification.
Well, so this is my
test report. Let's say test report and certification. What is the difference?
This is my sweet spot. This is something that I have talked about for nearly 2 decades now, and I think I'll take a step back to ask everyone to imagine the moment somebody says test. What comes in your mind? Test.
Yeah, like testing something. You are testing with some equipment according to some standard.
Test.
Yeah.
Let's test. So testing in its basic English definition point of view is that let's do this and see what happens.
Right.
Is a very basic concept that when kids in school come back, they learn primary colors.
Right.
They come back and say, if I mix red with blue, this happens. So let me get some color and mix and let me test.
Right.
If I want to make this color,
Correct.
does it work or not? And you would realize that these empirical methods, this test, and is what leads to learning. It's what leads to knowledge of various things.
Yeah.
So testing in its basic sense can be done in a very haphazard, in a very crude way. A classic example. Let me take a blowtorch and let me take an ACP material and go to an architect and run the blowtorch and say, see, nothing happens. oh my God, look what happens. Don't buy this. This is also a test.
Yes.
But then this is where the differentiation starts. The differentiation starts when we use the word standard.
Standard. Yes.
Standard means there is a defined way to do something. Standard, in its definition, means something which has consensus of a type of people who all agree on certain steps, certain jointly agreed ways of doing something.
Correct.
So the moment you say this is a standard product, for example, somebody says this is a standard product.
Yes.
What standard product means is that there is some written or documented definition of what that product is.
Correct.
So there is standardization, which
Yeah.
means the product follows what that definition of a product is. The product could be a mic, the product could be a cup, the product could be a table. And then there is a standard test.
Right.
So this is the starting point. Sorry, I took a long way to reach it,
It's
but
amazing to learn. Yeah.
a standard test is when there is someone who has defined how the test needs to be performed.
Yeah, the procedure is there.
The procedure is fixed. It's a very rigid method. If someone says, take 2 liters of water.
Yeah.
So the depth of that thing is measured, saying, what is the water? Let's define the pH value of water.
Correct.
Let's define how are you measuring 2 liters. Let's calibrate and check, is it 2 liters or not? There is someone who is checking whether the measurement is accurate or not.
Correct. Calibration. Yeah.
Calibration.
Yeah.
There is someone who is measuring that if you say the pH value of water is this.
Yes.
So how are you testing? What is the instrument? Is the instrument right?
Right.
Who is checking the instrument?
Yes.
Who is checking the checker of the instrument?
Correct.
There is this degree of perfection involved.
Correct.
So when we do a standard test, and why I'm going through all these details is because when people look at a test report,
Yes.
they should know the depth behind a test report.
Correct.
So is the tester could be, a college student who has set up a lab in his college,
Yes.
saying, I am testing this
Yeah.
as per the standard.
Yes.
And he's writing a report, which is a test report.
Correct.
But then whoever is seeing the report should also get into the fact that the moment we are talking of standardization, the standardization touches testing equipment.
Correct. Yes.
I just gave an example. The standardization touches the tester's knowledge.
Correct. Yes.
Is the tester capable? Is the tester experienced? Is the tester certified
Right.
to differentiate between different products? And is the tester qualified to repeatedly do the right steps?
Right.
If I am holding the paint brush or a pencil at a different angle as compared to what the standard method says, the output will be different.
100%.
So, first things first, the standard test report also exists in many forms.
Correct. Yes.
A test report may not be standardized. Someone says, I know the standard. Who are you?
Yeah.
Do you really know the standard? Have you been verified? So this is where we are.
This
we have a
situation is
test
there.
report.
Yeah.
So we have talked about the variation
Yes.
in test reports itself.
Right.
And now the basic fundamental challenge comes in is that whatever is to be tested often knows that it has to be tested.
Okay.
So a manufacturer
Yes.
or anybody giving a sample for a test almost all the time knows that this sample is being made for the test.
Correct.
So if the user of the test report does not comprehend and grasp these things, they don't know that the test of the product is what is called in the conformity industry the golden sample. It has been made to be tested.
Okay.
It's like, well, you are going for a photo shoot today.
Yeah.
You know, we joke around in our cultures that it's the wedding shoot.
Okay.
So you're prepared for the
Yeah,
wedding. So look the best. So you make the best product.
Yeah.
So to overcome this scenario, which used to happen in the past for many products and now happens for fire safe materials in UAE,
Correct. Yes.
is that the government has taken a step ahead to say, wait a minute, not only do we want the test report
Yes.
to be conducted by someone who has been third party investigated.
Yes.
So the testing lab has what is called accreditation. It's a
Yes.
whole ocean. I will not go into it.
Sampling is the concern now.
So now the concept comes in that there is a 4-step process that comes in saying
Yes.
who saw the sample getting made?
Correct.
Is the process of making the sample documented?
Correct.
So there is a documentation done of how that sample was made.
Yes.
It is not the secret sauce of a restaurant saying no one will know how Coca-Cola is made. Secret.
So certification body will know.
So the conformity body
Yeah.
knows to the extent of being able to distinguish and say that, oh, you cheated, you missed one ingredient or you added something more, etc.
Yeah.
So the conformity body does one of 4 steps. Step 1, they assess and document how the sample, which is not a golden sample or it could be a golden sample, is made.
Yeah.
Who made it? And I just gave an example of measuring water.
Correct. Yes.
Measuring the pH value of a 2-liter bottle.
Yeah.
So all those depth of assessment comes in. Is the material let's say any product has 30 raw materials or 40 raw materials.
Right.
All those raw materials are assessed for what they claim to be.
Correct. Yes.
The assessment methodology is evaluated. The assembly methodology is
Yeah.
documented for being auditable later. So once so you have a firm map of how this has come to be,
Yeah.
then it gets tested
Yes.
as per a standard test method
Yes.
by a conformity body or a laboratory which has been accredited
Yes.
to demonstrate repeatability. And then there is a test report. This test report has something unique. It has traceability of the sample. It has a report which may not be public, but it has a report linked to it,
Correct.
which knows how it was made.
Correct. Yes.
So assuming this has a good result of performance of whatever the property could be,
Requirement according to you.
it could be you mentioned the color does not fade.
Yes.
You mentioned debonding. You mentioned lots of things.
Yeah.
Fire safety is one of them. Once the properties are evaluated through a test report, then we go into what is called a regular audit regime. So this third-party company who does not get a cut between what the buyer and the seller deal at.
Yeah.
So if you have an ACP, the third-party body does not link the money that they charge with how much you sell and at what rate.
Correct.
It is de-linked with that commercial contract.
Correct. Yes.
Their job is to assess because their name is on the product.
Correct. Yes.
So this third-party assurer will visit the factory and use the first audit report to say, are the same raw materials coming in?
Right.
Are they assessed correctly? Are they getting assimilated exactly in the same way or not?
Yeah.
And hence, they provide this assurance. So this is really in-depth as compared with a test report.
Correct, yes.
A test report could be from anywhere.
Yes, exactly. From any golden sample, as you said.
Exactly. So this level of assessment is very, very good. It is confidence inspiring.
Yes.
Specifically when we talk about fire safety, and we lauded the efforts of UAE as a country and all the stakeholders, people who were involved in creating the building code, in implementation. My name is in the building code as well, but yeah. and all the other people. So
I truly love the idea of certification listing. Like as you said, test report is kind of intellectual property for any company. It could be. Many people may not publish the test report, and it should not be, ideally. But the listing of certification, say for example in the ACM industry, listing of assemblies basically for different ACM systems is really an interesting idea. Even the civil defense approval these days is having a drawing number, which wasn't there earlier, 2015.
So like the flow of conversation is that, first off, we laud the efforts that have been done by UAE in designing this framework. And it's on the basis of standard methods, standard procedures. And I just mentioned this level of assurance, this level of conformity actually exists in many other industries, in many other products. If you look at products that go in the pharma industry, medical products are extremely regulated with similar type of assurance as we are talking of ACP. You would be surprised probably that lots of medical products, contact lenses as an example, if you pick up a box of disposable contact lenses, you will see not just CE mark, which is kind of very misunderstood as well, but that CE mark, or there will be a 4-digit number under that CE mark. You go to the internet, you search the 4-digit number, you will find the name of the conformity body.
Wow.
You will find the certificate number, and just by that, in common space, you can narrow down to saying which office of this third-party conformity body is involved in auditing the factory which is manufacturing these lenses. So the government, if they want to take action, or if the buyer wants to take action, they will pull in the third-party assurer saying, well, here is the batch number. Your company's name is on it. This product caused harm to an individual. So you are also roped in to say, you said this will work. The manufacturer, of course, said, but you also assured it. So, as I said, whether it's medical products, oil and gas industry, potentially explosive environments, electrical products should not cause an explosion in the oil and gas industry. Highly regulated. Food, toys for kids, very regulated. In the Gulf countries, you have a Gulf conformity mark for toys.
Really? Wow.
Absolutely. So there is GCC, you would see a G, there's GSO, it's Gulf Standard. It's an ocean.
Wow, amazing. Since you said fire safety, and as we are also emphasizing on UAE's effort on bringing fire safety, testing, standard, certification, inspection, and all these things, the trust on ACM materials after the several fire incidents on the building again redeveloped, and people now trust on the certification if it is issued by a competent third-party assurer. We can see ACM everywhere in the UAE, and of course we can also see a right way of installation, fabrication, and inspection, of course. Why? Other countries, let's say, there is a big question mark when we talk about ACM. They say, no, ACM itself is not safe product. How do you see this situation, basically?
So this is a phase. Many countries in many industries go through this phase of evolution of the product, as well as evolution of trust
Yes.
on a given industry. There was a massive fire in China. I think it was called the CCCTV. There was a TV company. It was a big building that caught
CCTV
fire.
is very popular.
And at that time in China, I don't remember, it was probably 2 decades ago, the country nearly took a stand saying no ACP in the country. And a lot of efforts like these that UAE has undertaken now were, taken in to enhance the trust on the product.
Correct, yes.
The concept of standards and standardization and assurance supported differentiation of who does what. Because as we were talking about building codes earlier, we have a designer, we have a material supplier, we have a contractor, we have a maintainer. So in the whole journey, everybody has limited scope of work.
Right.
An ACP manufacturer traditionally would make just one type of ACP, and it would go to 4, 5, 6 different applications.
Right.
It could be used for so many things.
Right.
It is only now that the industry has also matured, saying, well, these ACPs are going in an application which is, potentially requires a lot of care.
Right.
So a whole system has now been created for assurance.
Right.
So as I was talking, that there are phases.
Yeah.
You very rightly said that now in UAE the trust has come back on the manufacturers.
Yes.
So now there is clarity that within the supply chain of designer, material selector, product suppliers, installers, whose role could potentially lead to an incident or an accident.
Yeah.
And with this definition then, there are means available for trust saying, well, this was good product, bad workmanship.
Right.
So then there is focus on workmanship as well.
Yeah.
And hence, more and more regulation. While the code exists, in the future, you will see that there are more personnel certifications that will come into play.
Okay.
Where someone say, well, these people are authorized and assessed to be capable to install ACP.
Okay. So this is what you are anticipating.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is coming. This is already exists in some countries in some form, in certain types of products.
Yeah.
Installers, for example, in the oil and gas industry. There are various personnel certification programs saying if you are an installer who works in the oil and gas industry, it could be just a fitter, an electrician, but that individual needs a certification. He needs to know that if he is carrying a screwdriver, which is a metallic screwdriver, it cannot drop on the floor, which is metallic, and which could cause a spark or a small spark that could blow up the whole area. So these kind of trainings of personnel exist already in certain industries, as I mentioned, in the oil and gas industry. There are programs like Compex.
Within the UAE?
Yes, these are international programs. I'll give you an example. Compex is a training program which is certified individuals, which is also run by a body called IEC, Electrical Industry.
What is accreditation in summary?
I think this is a very valid, very good question. And, we covered several aspects today. In the earlier talk, we talked about what a standard test method is.
Yes.
We also touched upon saying that who is a tester?
Yes.
And who is an installer? I gave an example. So the moment we are talking of the third party assurers, someone who is a third party testing lab, a third party product certification body, a third party personnel certification body, these companies, businesses or non-government organizations or not-for-profit organizations because these assurers could be a government body,
Yes.
could be a not-for-profit,
Yeah.
could be a for-profit
Yes.
entity. So you can already see that third-party assurers could come from different motivations.
Yeah.
They could be the government's body. I talked about the gene mark of SASO.
Yes.
The government says, if you want to sell milk, you have to take my certification given by the government.
Yes.
Whereas there are private certification bodies. There are so many national, international, regional players.
Correct.
What is the standardization here
For them.
for them?
Yes.
So this is where the construct of accreditation comes in. And there are two-part process.
Yeah.
The first is standards for these third-party bodies. You may have heard of ISO 9001,
Yeah.
14,000.
Yes.
These are standards which guide manufacturing, health and safety. Various standards
Yes.
exist.
Right.
Now, exactly in the same way, there are standards which are called the ISO 17,000 series. There are lots of standards
Yeah.
under the 17K
Yeah.
standards. And I'll list some of them. So there is a standard published which is called 17025, ISO 17025.
Yes. Yes.
This is a standard which defines behavior, functionality of testing labs and calibration bodies. We talked about calibration,
Yes,
which means
we did.
checking the measuring instruments.
Yes.
So anybody who is a testing laboratory, it could be a lab doing a COVID test, by the way, or a blood test, or a test of electrical products,
Yes.
or a fire safety.
Yes.
They all need to follow how labs function.
Right.
Which means knowing the standard, having the calibration, people, blah, blah, blah. Now, the businesses or the companies, government or non-government, who audit the labs, who audit the product certification bodies, who audit the personnel certification bodies, these entities are called accreditation bodies.
Okay.
Which means, as I said, who is testing the tester?
Correct.
Who is inspecting the auditor?
Right.
Who is auditing the certification body?
Okay.
Auditor. So
Yes.
you have an auditor who comes to your plant and says, how do you do this? Show me how you do this.
Yes.
Then there is someone who comes and audits them.
Right.
This process of auditing them, the third parties, and granting them a certificate.
Yes.
This is not a product certificate.
Yeah.
This is a certificate granted to the third party
Yes.
body. Is called accreditation.
Correct.
So
yes.
they carry an accreditation, conformity bodies,
Yeah.
who would say, I run 4 programs to certify electricians, plumbers,
Yes.
fitters, fire stopping personnel.
Yeah.
So they run a certification program for personnel. This is a standard which is ISO 17024. There is a standard ISO 17020 for inspection bodies. There is ISO 17065 for product certification or certification services. So there are many such standards. And when someone gets audited as per these standards, they are called accreditation. That journey, that process is called accreditation.
Perfect. So my second last question is,
Ouch.
where do you see TIC.guru in coming 5-10 years?
Oh, you were talking about my initiative
Yes.
of the conformity industry.
Yeah.
Well, the initiative has very interesting plans in life. So the TIC.guru, or the experts of assurance, are going to expand the understanding of assurance and conformity for lots of industries and lots of personnel.
So it is worldwide standard you will be discussing, or any particular countries?
So the assurance experts, TIC.guru, are going to focus on expanding the understanding of the whole services that the TIC industry offers. A lot of it which we touched upon, saying what is accreditation?
Yes.
What is certification? So the initiative is going to expand the understanding so that the utilization is correct. so that people don't confuse between a test report
Yeah.
and a listed product.
Yes.
It will also enhance and provide. It will also provide for a training ground for people in the conformity industry, in the TIC industry or the A-TIC industry to grow their careers.
Okay.
So someone who wants to become a testing engineer, who's fresh out of college,
Yes.
someone who wants to become a manager in a conformity body, they need to understand things which are never taught in schools or colleges.
Yes. So this is TIC University basically.
It will also have a TIC university, which, as I was mentioning earlier, the TIC.guru
Yeah.
has 3 initiatives.
Yes.
It aims to enhance the growth
Yes.
of TIC companies.
Perfect.
So, a small or a medium-sized TIC or a large TIC company wants to grow their business.
Perfect.
So this entity, the people behind it will help. It will also help, companies in the finance industry
Yes.
who are funding TIC businesses to understand what TIC company is really.
Okay.
For senior managers to say, well, we want to make a 5-year, 10-year plan.
Right.
What is it that we need to understand about the geopolitics of the world? What should I invest in?
Yes. Correct.
So it is TIC University, very nicely named. It's a good idea for me to keep in mind.
Right.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So lots of things.
Correct. Yes. Recently, the Euroclass A1 has been introduced by us. And what do you think this evolution altogether and the trust for these countries? Do you think we should? What should we do basically for that?
Excellent question.
As an ACM industry, I'm saying.
As I kind of mentioned this earlier, industries evolve over a period of time. The perception of industries also evolved over a period of time. There was an era when the electric scooters, which we see as an evolved product now, were first introduced. And when they were first introduced, they were not allowed in Germany at all. You couldn't sell them.
Okay.
It took a considerable effort to cross over and establish certain certification marks and programs to allow these people to sell. And then they reached a stage now where they have morphed from what they were to another area where they were mature. And now again, the batteries have evolved. And now again, as you would have seen and read news, that the electric scooters are being talked about as a potential hazard. They can cause a big accident. So the reason I gave you an example is that this is an industry which started from a phase, reached a phase where people say, oh, no. And then the product evolved.
Yes.
The perception of the product evolved.
Yes.
And then this product specifically is now again at a low, where there are people who are saying, oh, this has evolved to a place where it needs to be corrected back again.
Correct, yes.
So ACM, ACP, and cladding material in general have, as materials, seen a lot of shift in the last 2 decades.
Yes.
From where they were, how they were manufactured, to where they are now and how they are manufactured.
Correct.
This includes terminology. You were talking of FR. The terminology is different in different countries.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia, country close by, who published a standard for ACP. They came up with their own nomenclature that they want to run around that they want to talk about in Saudi Arabia.
Correct. Yes.
And so has the manufacturing processes, as you were talking about, have evolved. For all you know, a couple of years later, it is probably still called ACP, but it has something very, very different in it.
Correct, yes.
It could have a battery. I have no idea. I mean, the evolution of products.
Correct.
And the same goes for the perception of the industry.
Yes.
In certain countries, you may see 2 years later, there is a shockwave where that country says, I will ban ACP.
Correct, yes.
And then that region, that country might go through a cycle. We're saying, hey, look at those countries and look at UAE and how they crossed over this path.
Correct.
So I foresee that this is all efforts of professionals, efforts of businesses who energize awareness,
Correct,
who
yes.
bring about awareness. Today, facade professionals in the UAE, by virtue of what they have seen in the last couple of years, are sought after people worldwide.
Yes.
Because they have seen the cycle and they understand it, and they are now spreading the word worldwide.
Correct. Yes.
These are people who are doing workshops and training programs all over the world, saying, well, this is product, this is material, this is a listed system, etc., etc.
And you are one of the prominent.
I have been one of them, and yeah, thank you very much. But lots of people have evolved, and the facade fire safety as a subject is going to grow.
And you have been to UK as well, if recently.
Yes.
UK and Australia.
Yes,
and
lots of these countries have many government consultations open. United Kingdom published a report recently by a senior person by the name Paul Morrell, who published a report on the reform that is required in the conformity regime, something that UAE has done.
Okay.
And now they are published a report on what all needs to change and how they will change it. So a lot of regulations getting changed in UK.
Yeah.
A lot of regulations being thought about in European Union, because European Union is amalgamation of so many countries and so many ideologies. So driving a technical regulation can take a long time.
Take a long time. Yes, correct. Perfect. Thank you very much for your time.
Sure.
Coming
here and
discussing, explaining so many things,
so many
testing,
things.
certification, assurance, accreditation, and I believe that listeners will like the video. And what is the right way of contacting you? I believe you don't recommend telephone calls all the time. Your phone ringing. What is the best way to contact you?
The best way is to reach out the website, which is TIC, which is Testing Inspection Certification .guru.
Yeah.
It's a good way to remember.
Yeah.
And people can look me up on various professional social media, LinkedIn, Abhishek Chhabra. There you are. Or as I said, TIC.guru is the best way to reach me, and happy to help.
Yeah. So what is the turnaround time for you?
Turnaround time is very, very fast. It's almost like, we are in the B2C space now.
Yeah.
Consumers.
Correct.
You go to Airbnb, you look at a property, it says these people turn around in 2 hours, in 24 hours.
Amazing.
So absolutely. I mean, we are all unfortunately glued to the world around. We are connected. So very quick.
Perfect. Abhishek, I wish you all the very best. I wish you health, wealth, and prosperity.
Oh, I like that.
Take care.
Thank you very
Always.
much. Thank you very much.
Thank
Lovely.
you. Bye-bye.
Absolutely.